Hello folks, I'm John Myrie and welcome to the Wisconsin Northland Outdoors. On this week's show we have reports and tips for you from Jarrett McCarthy down at Hayward Bait and Bottle, and then we talk summer fishing with pro angler and fishing guide Bro Brosdahl. Lots to cover on this week's show, all coming up right after these messages.
The fishing opener has come and gone. If you fished it from an old, inadequate boat, were stuck on shore, or worse yet, didn't go out at all, we can help. Hayward Power Sports has an awesome selection of new Lund boats, rigged and ready. You'll find the 1650 Angler, the 1775 Impact, the 1875 Crossover, and many more. We're offering massive Hayward Power Sports discounts up to $7,500, plus we'll throw in a free storage for next winter. Come see us at Hayward Power Sports, just 10 minutes east of Hayward on Highway 77.
Riding along in my automobile.
Bumping into things unexpectedly? Make your first choice for collision repair. Ernie's Auto Body, featuring the most advanced collision repair facility in Northwest Wisconsin. With a state-of-the-art spray bake down draft paint booth for that better-than-new finish, laser technology for precision frame alignment, loaner cars available, computerized estimates, written guarantees, and documented unmatched customer service, the clear choice is Ernie's Auto Body, south of Hayward on Highway 63 and Nursery Road, where quality is no accident.
Big fish stories come to life at the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame. The world's largest shrine to freshwater anglers boasts a 4.5-story tall walk-through muskie that's a half a city block long. It's like taking a peek into Granddad's old tackle box with thousands of mounted fish, antique outboard motors, and historical sport fishing artifacts. Stop in and take a chance on our 50-50 cash raffle. You could walk away with a pile of cash. See the big ones that didn't get away at the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame, Highways 27 and B in Hayward. Open daily, including Sundays, through October 31st at 9:30 a.m. Lynn's Custom Meats and Catering welcomes you to stop by for their great lunch menu. And while you're there, Lynn's also has a great selection of custom-cut meats and sausages, as well as many varieties of snack sticks, jerky, fresh cheese curds, and much more. Lynn's is open Mondays through Fridays from 9 to 5:30 and 9 to 4 on Saturdays. Lynn's Custom Meats and Catering in Hayward.
Today, anglers fish longer. Today, anglers fish harder. Today, anglers rely more than ever on their electronics. It all comes down to catching more fish, and today, anglers rely on Amped Outdoors lithium batteries, period. Visit ampedoutdoors.com today to power your outdoor experience.
We're recording this week down at Hayward Bait and Bottle with Jarrett. You know, the fishing out there is both good and bad. Depends on who you talk to and what lakes they've been fishing. It seems like we're getting into a full-blown summer pattern.
I would fully agree. You know, I had a couple days out myself, past couple days, and there were times during the day where, you know, it seemed like it shut down, and you get to a different time of the day, and it was, you know, all fired up. And same people here in the shop. Hey, we had a good day today. We had a, you know, tough day yesterday, so it's kind of all over the place right now.
You know, that's normal for summer because you get these, there's so much food out there. You get these very short, intense bite windows or feeding windows. And the one thing, I've said this on the show before, if I had to put money on anything, there's a lot of times for sure there's going to be an activity period for fish between 1 and 5 in the afternoon, and then for sure in the evening. So, you know, spend some time out there and, you know, just watch your solar tables, watch the moonrise, moonset, a lot of that stuff. And if you have a storm front coming, you know, anything could trigger one of them intense feeding windows.
Absolutely. Just make sure you're not out there when it's storming.
Well, I don't go out there lightning throws. I've had too many close calls. But let's talk about the walleye fishing. A lot of people still want to walleye fish. You hearing anything there?
So what I'm hearing is that we're still seeing a couple walleyes that are out on the weed lines right now, but it seems like a lot of guys are starting to troll already. You know, they're dragging planer boards or they're long lining shad wraps and reef runners and what have you like that. We'll get into the crawler harnesses here pretty quick, but it seems like a lot of those fish are starting to move deep. Kind of makes sense with the increased boat traffic that we've seen over the past week, you know, week and a half or what have you, but they're starting to scatter, starting to move out deep, so we're going to be in search mode now.
You know, and if you want to try the weeds, there's still a few fish in the weeds. We got one decent walleye out of the weeds fishing for bass, and that was on a Ned rig, believe it or not. But so some of the bass tactics will also catch other fish.
Yeah, you know, even, you know, throwing, if you're out there fishing for crappies right now, even those smaller crappie baits or whatever, especially if those walleye or bass are in negative mood, those smaller baits sometimes are the key. But yeah, there's still some good fish to be had out there, but we're going to take some looking around for them.
You know, let's talk about the panfish, crappies first.
So, Crappies right now, they could be doing a whole bunch of different things out on the lake. Guys are seeing them on the weed lines out there right now. They're seeing them kind of schooled up over the basins. We got some guys that are saying that they're seeing a couple on cribs. So, the important part is just finding them right now. They could be so many different spots in the water column right now. They could be on bottom. They could be 10 feet down. They could be a foot under the surface. Could be in weeds. Could be out on structure right now. So your side imaging, your sonar is going to be very, very important to getting on fish right now.
It seems that there are some lakes where they seem to move out in deeper brush and deeper cribs and stuff quicker than they do on other lakes. And other lakes, they just seem to hang on that weed edge or that deep weed edge all the time.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on the lake and what you have available for structure out deep. If the crappies are going to go out there and roam, they got to have a good reason for going out there to roam. If they're eating bug hatches or what have you that are coming up out of the basin out there, if there's still plenty of forage for them up in the weeds, that's where they'll hang out. But yeah, it's lake by lake.
I've seen the same thing with bluegills, too. I'm finding bluegills out in deep water, and I'm finding some up shallow.
Yep, same deal here. I was out yesterday, and I found a whole bunch of fish still hanging out in that 11 to 14 foot of water or what have you, and the bite was really good, and go out to, 20 to 25 feet of water, and there was suspended fish from 15 to 20 feet down, and they're out there, too, so it's just different clusters of fish doing different things at different times.
What are you hearing on the bass fishing, Jarrett?
So bass fishing as far as smallies it's been a little tough out there. A lot of guys are starting to go to finesse tactics. They're going with their drop shots, going with Ned rigs, working pretty well out there. A little bit deeper out there, out on some rock piles or what have you. Largemouth fishing has been pretty good. A lot of those largemouth are starting to trickle down to those deeper weed edges. Still some up shallow, but they're going to be your smaller fish, but still some action to be had up there. But bass fishing's been okay.
You mentioned that Ned rig, and, that seems to be getting popular, but I see how some people fish it too aggressively. It's more of a drag it and maybe slight, little tiny hops on the bottom, trying to imitate a crawfish is what they're doing, I think.
Yeah, if you've ever watched a crawfish on the bottom, I can't say I'm ever seeing it jump 3 or 4 feet off the bottom, multiple times in a row. So you're just kind of trying to scoot along the bottom nice and slowly, making sure you give it a nice long pause, because that's when the fish is going to stare at it and really make up its mind. And if it's staring at it, all of a sudden it pops 3-4 feet in the air, you're going to spook that fish or you're going to hit that off switch right away. So, less is more in this case.
I think that's the case with a lot of different types of fishing. People tend to get too aggressive. It's just like one guy said one time, I heard him say, if you were sitting in your living room watching TV and a Big Mac come crashing through the ceiling and bounced off the coffee table twice, would you think about eating it?
I'd think about eating it. Would I be able to catch it? Probably not.
Anyway, let's talk a little bit about pike fishing. There are people out there pike fishing, I think.
Yeah, and there's, good pike action out there right now. There's a lot of fish that are still up cruising that weed line with all the bluegills and bass up there. A lot of those smaller fish and those bigger fish are going to be off your deeper points in that cold water or what have you. It's usually what they do this time of year. Guys will start seeing them when they're trolling for walleyes when you get out into that deeper 20 to 35 feet of water. But pike fishing has been really good. Great fish to throw on the table for the summer.
Muskie, you hearing much there, Jarrett?
As far as muskies go, we're starting to hear the muskie action is slowing down just a little bit, which is understandable with the water warming up a little bit here. And, as far as handling muskies go, as the water gets warmer, it's a lot safer just to go fish for something else. Not to say that you can't fish for muskies, but fishing's been okay.
You bet. Well, when talking about pike and muskie fishing, something I came across this year, and I got it on a couple of reels, and it's kind of interesting, is that if you want to fish, my hands are getting a little arthritic and stuff. You want to fish a smaller frame reel on sometimes for pike or even for lighter muskie tackle, the bigger bass reels, but you can't really put big enough a line on them. But that Finn's braid out there, they got that 40G and that 85-pound test line. I got a 200 size reel. It's got over 100 yards of that line on it.
Yeah, absolutely. The Finn's line in general has really taken off here. It's made right here in the U.S., which is awesome. But, as far as their panfish, their muskie, and the regular bass braids and, what have you, it's really taken off. We've got a lot of other brands here in the shop. We've got a lot of guys coming in asking for Fins by name, and it's a great line. We've had a lot of people that are coming back, spooling up the rest of their reels with other Fins gear. So a lot of different perks to it. And, we've got it down here at the shop.
You got just about everything else anybody need down here, too. You got a huge selection of plastics for bass, panfish, and walleyes, and you got, like I mentioned before, like 90 feet of wall of muskie baits.
And I've even heard that some of it catches fish. Yep.
But Jared, I know you guys got information here too. If somebody wants some tips or information, they want to take a look at stuff in here, just stop by.
Absolutely. Most of our guys here are on the water every week or every other day, so we kind of have a good handle on the bites. So if you've got questions or you're looking for a brand new bait for the box, stop on by and see us.
Thanks a lot, Jared.
Thanks, John.
Well, folks, we need to take a break right now and hear from some of the fine sponsors that make this show possible every week. When we come back, we'll be talking summer fishing with pro angler and fishing guide Bro Brosdahl. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages. Hayward Bait and Bottle is your one-stop for the Hayward area's largest selection of rods, reels, lures, fishing electronics, boating supplies, and much more. Whether you fish for bass, walleyes, panfish, or muskies, gear up for the upcoming fishing season. And if you're getting ready for the spring turkey season too, they also have just about everything you'll need for a successful season. In the bottle shop, you'll find a full selection of beer and liquor. Hayward Bait and Bottle is your one-stop sport and bottle shop.
The Hayward Lakes Visitors and Convention Bureau in Sawyer County, Wisconsin welcomes you to our Northwoods hometown. No matter the season, no matter the activity, you'll always be surrounded by our great outdoors. What more could you ask for in a vacation destination? Woods, waters, world-class events. Contact us for information on lodging, dining, attractions, events, trail conditions, and more. Order your free vacation guide and start planning your getaway today. Visit us at haywardlakes.com or call 1-800-724-2992.
Get out of your chair and into fresh air with a new Can-Am side-by-side or ATV from Hayward Power Sports. Hurry in for a very limited number of select 2023 side-by-sides that offer up to $3,500 in rebates, plus financing as low as 1.99% for 36 months. Meanwhile, our selection of 2024s is huge and offer rebates up to $1,000 and again, 1.99% financing for 36 months. If you enjoy the creature comforts, test drive an incredibly popular Can-Am Defender HD10 side-by-side. It comes standard with a full cab including heat and air conditioning. Looking for a value-priced machine? The Can-Am Defender XT HD7 features a winch, roof, front bumper, and full skid plate. With the $1,000 rebate, your price is just $15,399. Your new Can-Am side-by-side or ATV is waiting for you at Hayward Power Sports, just 10 minutes east of Hayward on Highway 77.
Certain restrictions apply, subject to credit approval. See your dealer for details. Always wear helmets, never drink and ride.
Welcome back to another segment of this week's Wisconsin Northland Outdoors, and this part of the show was brought to you by the Hayward Lakes Visitor and Convention Bureau. For more information on lodging and vacationing here in the Hayward Lakes area, check out their website at haywardlakes.com. Well, folks, one of the people I get on here from time to time is one of my friends over in northern Minnesota, pro angler and fishing guide Bro Brosdahl. Had a chance to talk to Bro the other day on the phone about summer fishing and a lot more. We're talking to pro angler and fishing guide Bro Brosdahl over in Minnesota, a friend of mine. And Bro, we're in that summer now. We're seeing all those bug hatches as we get into July here. And, some people say it's the dog days of fishing, but the fish, when the water gets warm, the fish still have to eat because they're cold-blooded. Their metabolism goes up, which means they just digest their food faster. They got to eat, and they're eating. It's just we have really short bite windows, and then on top of that, the fish a lot of times tend to suspend or scatter out there.
John, thanks for having me. It's that time of year where most people, the old term was dog days, but what it really is less feeding opportunities. So these little bite windows that happen tend to be morning and evening, and then in the afternoon, super narrow. And you have to, today it seems like with technology, a percentage of people are fishing fish all the time, not fishing for them. But what I found this year, with a lack of winter and a lack of snow, that the algae, the green slime on the bottom, that your jig goes into and it looks like green spider webs all over it, that stuff didn't die off last winter because it had sunshine. And so it's kind of all over the place. And if you can't drag anything anymore in most areas, there's some clean areas because of high winds and stuff, but you can't drag anything because the algae didn't die. So what happens is when the wind blows, it pulverizes some of the algae and darkens the water. So we have lakes here, like Lake Winnebagosh. Last year had a Secchi disc reading of 27 feet. So the fish were extremely spooky. it was really, really difficult to get the fish. If you did anything wrong, you scared them all away. And you can only do that so many times, and you just run out of spots and fish. So this year, it's less than half that, but the fish are still spooky because from opener day of walleye fishing to now, they've been getting chased. The first time I've seen this, where a little bit more than half the people were chasing with forward viewing sonar, and they literally chased thousands of fish out of an entire bay. Every day they would chase thousands of fish out of the entire bay, and they'd come back, they'd chase them out. And the interesting thing is, if you're there in the morning, that was the bite window. You'd catch them, whether you use it or not. People that didn't have it were catching them. But when they started running them down and multiply casting into them, they would chase them right out. And I've never seen that on opener. I see that in the summer when tournaments are coming, or you get that different type of crowd. But on opener, I've never seen that. And it was pretty amazing to see how the fish are reacting. They're adapting, but even in dark water, they don't like to be chased. So I always have the saying, you only take a couple of drops of blood and then leave the patient. You don't want to take all the blood and kill it. So I hit multiple spots. If we get a couple, I'm good and I move, because they won't come back. I mean, you'll just harass the fish too much, and they just don't use those areas. And so I've had to adapt to that. But one of the unique things, as we were talking before we went on the air, is using modern methods with old school. And I'm really old school this year with that dark water. The fish are more scattered, like the old days. There's still schools of fish in it looks like a minnow tank. They're all in one corner, or they're all here. But this year they're scattered, and so I'm actually drifting. And I've had people call me, I've never seen you do that. Because normally, at the old bass term, we're standing on their heads. I'm fishing fish when I'm guiding. But we're drifting because they're scattered, and we're doing extremely well. And it's so nice. Algae is a pain, but you just stay elevated from the bottom. But it's so nice to be able to drift down a break line and catch walleyes the old-fashioned way, but still use your technology to line up your drift, or use your Minn Kota in drift mode. It's pretty cool.
Well, and you're dragging there and drifting, but actually you're talking probably with jigs, and you can troll jigs too. I mean, with electric trolling motor, you can troll crawlers on a jig there. But everybody thinks about spinner rigs and stuff, but
no,
you can just use jigs. Yeah.
So most of the guides in the area I'm here, they're all in one think tank. They're all spinning, they call it, and they're dragging spinners with a bullet sinker. If there's slime on the bottom, they're not bottom mousing, because it does get on there. They're dragging bullet sinkers and spinners, and just covering lots of water. And for me, it's really hard when I got a school of fish to pass it up, or just try to get one bite out of that school as I'm going through. I like to stop and catch a couple. And so we use the Deep V spinner head, and it's a jig with a spinner on it, and put a chunk of crawler or leech or a minnow and pitch it out. Get your boat up to speed, pitch it out, and that works. But you can cast, and you control the jig through the spot repeatedly. So I have talons on my boat, which are 15-foot shallow water anchors that Minn Kota makes, and you press a button down. I got them wired to one switch, so they both go down. You have one talon, on a variable wind day, you spin in a circle. So I put them both down, and you pitch repeatedly and just roll that spinner head through that spot. But you could also use I've tied short spinners where I'll take a rainbow spinner, cut it off, put a split shot, and make it the size of a MEP spinner and hang bait on it. So we'll pitch spinners too, but bobbers are popular, but sometimes it's not the trick. You got to move it. I use drop shots are really popular, are starting to become popular, but I've gone a little farther. I needed little finger because the fish were missing it. You'd have just a pair of lips left of your leech on the hook, if it's on your line direct. But I tie a finger of line using a live bait loop knot, and when the walleyes come, they suck it in. It's always inside farther, and we don't gut hook them, but if you do a 2, 3, 4 foot finger drop shot and you pitch it in, you could just sit there with the rod elevated. Your sinker's just past the fish, and that leech is just sitting right by the fish. Minnow, you could float a crawler on it, and the fish have time to come get it. But if they don't do anything, you start reeling it really slow and pulling it through. Just not ripping it, just lifting the rod slow and dropping it, and it's making that crawler or leech go up and down, and it creates really good strikes. And I've been doing that for many years, and we call it the stealth rig because in the past I didn't want to tell anybody about it. I wanted to be stealthy.
Well, folks, we need to take yet another break and hear from even more of the fine sponsors that bring their show to you every week. When we come back, we'll have the second part of that talk we had with pro angler and fishing guide Bro Brosdahl. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages. Hey folks, come on over to Hayward Ace Hardware and check out the area's largest selection of firearms, ammo, and accessories. We carry top brands like Browning and Sig Sauer, and we have a great selection of the newest and hard-to-find models. We've got a large selection of ammo with more coming in daily. If you need a scope, we carry great brands like Leupold, Hawk, and EOTech, and we'll even mount it and bore-sight it for you too. We even sell suppressors and silencers. And don't forget to check out our Guns of the Week. Huge discounts on a variety of pistols, rifles, and shotguns that change every week. So stop on in to Hayward Ace Hardware, your firearms superstore. Hayward Ace Hardware, Highway 63 North in Hayward, or give us a call at 715-634-8700.
Hayward Animal Hospital is a full-service medical and surgical hospital featuring on-site laboratory, digital and dental x-ray, in-house pharmacy, and online store. Dr. Ostrander has 40 years of experience dealing with illnesses, injuries, surgery, and dentistry. Hayward Animal Hospital offers urgent care appointments and emergency surgery daily. Please call early in the day for these appointments. They open at 8 a.m. Hayward Animal Hospital is located 1 mile east of Hayward on Highway B. Call 715-634-8971.
Hey folks, the Log Cabin Store in Northwoods Beach on Highway K between the Big Lakes has groceries, ice, beer, liquor, and pop, and now has all new tackle and bait supplies. All current antiques and household items are now on sale and all must go to make room for the sport shop. That's at the Log Cabin Store in Northwoods Beach between the Big Lakes.
If you'd like to have your time fishing be more enjoyable and productive, hiring a fishing guide can be a good investment. Whether it's learning more about fish patterns throughout the year, learning how to use your depth finder to find the best spots and fish, learn how to use that GPS to get the most out of it, or learn better boat control, a day on the water with a guide can really help you to be a better angler as well as make a day on the lake very enjoyable. To book a guide trip this year or get more information, you can find us on the internet at www.wiscnorthlandoutdoors.com and then just click on Area Guides.
Welcome back to the last segment of this week's Wisconsin Northland Outdoors. And folks, we're going to jump right back into the second part of that talk we had with Bro Brosdahl. Well, you were talking about them deep B spinner jigs, and it was kind of interesting because the one thing I found is that, I fish a lot of lakes where you're smaller lakes and you maybe have some weeds that maybe short-growing weeds down in the bottom, or you've got a lot of wood down there, and it's pretty hard to drag a jig through that. So basically what I started doing years ago was I fish a bobber rig, and I'll put a jig with a spinner underneath it on there, and you live bait or crawlers or whatever you want to use. And we're basically casting that out and bringing it back, or you drift it, and you're doing the same thing, except we've got the depth control that it's only going to go so deep and keep it over the top of those deep weeds, or you keep it over the top of that wood down there. And very effective. A lot of people don't think about that when it comes to the fish, but they've got to, especially the darker the water gets, they got to have something, anything you can do to add attraction, and little spinner blades or rattles or anything like that are going to help the fish find your bait.
Yeah, and I did that a lot of times. I did the float drifting on Leech Lake is where I started doing it on the reefs, because you got big boulders, your line goes through, the jig doesn't, and so we'd float with bobbers. The front and back person would pitch it out, and the people stay in the middle, in the middle, and then you start drifting. And after a while, your bobbers come in behind the boat. But while they're doing it, you get bites. So you're covering water like a big combine. And so the front and back pitch out to the side, and then you pull through. And, you know, now with Humminbird side imaging, with Mega Live, I can see where the fish are. So we're not doing that so much. We will do the drifting with the bobbers. If I line up the fish and we go over them, I can watch them go under the boat, and then it's up to them. I mean, we're going through, but I like the spinner heads, and I do that too. We do it on tight lines, and we do it under bobbers, because it's not about a spinner that's just ripping in a circle. It's the flicker of the spinner. It's the flash.
Yep.
It's the extra attention you get out of it. There's a lot of types. One of my favorite ways to use a spinner jig is for big jumbo perch. And we've got some great perch fishing here, typically, but not right now. To be quite honest, it's really tough during the bug hatches. They don't sit up on top and wait for them to come up. They go right down to the source, and they're just like a vacuum cleaner filling up, and they have no room to eat. So perch fishing is really, really tough right now in the perch triangle here, Leech, Caswinnie. But after this gets digested, it's going to be really good in a few weeks. And it's pretty amazing fishing right now on all three lakes. And Winnie probably has the least of the population, just because of the high numbers of walleyes. They predate on perch, and they don't just eat small ones, but we're really, really healthy on perch, and I'm excited for the up and coming weeks. But it's that spinnerhead is the difference between a bite and no bite. Just even tight lining, moving it a little bit, and that little bit of flash. Remember, a lot of the fish we've had midge flies, which is the popcorn, doesn't make them full. Now we have mayflies, which is like a sandwich. It fills them up. And now we got crayfish coming up. So when the crayfish molt, what's the big deal? The fish know it. They walk right out of their shell. And I have friends that have scuba dove and watched them. They literally just walk right out of their case, and the fish pound them because they're soft as an omelet, and they just mow them down, and their bellies are full of crayfish. But the best part about it, sometimes crayfish flee, so we catch more fish on jigs, spinnerhead jigs. I'm throwing those with a plastics are super hot. I would have never thought, even 5 years ago, and I was using, since I was a kid, Mr. Twisters. I was using Mimic minnows. I've tried the Kytex. I've tried all these different types of tails. With this eye candy plastic, it is something different because super porous and absorbs scent. It doesn't give it up. They don't shrink on your hook if they're out in the air. Very little, like maybe 10%. And they're super strong. You could stretch them. The biggest problem with plastics in the past, you get a bite and the tail goes missing. And they're soft because they're soft poured plastics. It's a different way of making them. But with eye candy, the reason it's so hard to find and hard to get, and it sells out, it's virtually indestructible. Can a pike bite the tail off? It would have to hit it pretty hard.
Well, bro, a lot of interesting stuff there. I know you guide over there around your area. How does anybody get a hold of you, find information? I know you're on the internet and everything.
Yeah, go to brosguideservice.com or follow my social media platforms.
Well, bro, thank you for taking the time here with our listeners.
Yeah, thanks for listening, and be safe on the water. Get some kids out fishing, and have a great time this summer. The fishing's going to be fantastic in my neck of the woods in the next up-and-coming weeks.
Thanks a lot, bro.
Thanks, John.
Well, folks, we're about out of time for this week's show. I'd like to remind everyone out there that if you miss a show, go to our website at wnoradio.com. From there, you can link to our podcast site, and the show is also on Spotify and Google Podcasts every week. And also, if you're looking for information on vacationing and lodging here in the Hayward Lakes area, check out the Hayward Lakes Visitor and Convention Bureau website at haywardlakes.com. Thanks for listening, folks. We're out of time, and we'll be back again next week with another interesting show for you.
Listen with me, I'm gonna take you there to our Wisconsin outdoors, our Wisconsin outdoors.
This program has been produced and hosted entirely by Wisconsin Northland Outdoor Communications. Any and all views expressed are not necessarily those of the station.